From high school to college sports, a coach's advice for moms. Welcome to the Mothers of Boys Survival Guide. I'm Susie Shaw, author of the companion book, and here to represent the mob, Mothers of Boys, as we discuss today's topic, high school and college sports.
I'm Cheryl Bond, and our guest today is Matt Hogan, coach, mentor, and sports dad of two. He led teams from high school to powerhouse college programs. He's been named the MIAA Coach of the Year and now runs the Annapolis Hawks Club Lacrosse program and Hogan Lacs, home to some of the biggest boys lacrosse tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. Matt joined us earlier in a podcast about youth sports, coaches, and parents, and today we're continuing the conversation. This time, we're going to be focusing on the high school years and what it really takes to prepare our boys to play at the college level. Welcome back, Matt. Great to see you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Susie. Great to see you guys. Hope you had a great summer. School year is around the corner. Let's go.
Yes, it is around the corner. We're sure that you had a busy summer with all the lacrosse camps. I know for sports of of all ages, summer can be a very, very busy time.
It was a very busy time. It's good to be busy. Our events ended almost a month ago, and the tryouts were about 3 weeks ago, and that's all done and good. But it was a good summer and a busy summer.
Fabulous. So Matt, how does the intensity and commitment evolve as athletes move into the high school programs? Recognizing that each sport is a little different, what do you think is the typical weekly time commitment for playing a sport in high school?
I think one, it depends upon the level of competitiveness your high school sport is in. Like some schools have great reputations for football schools. Some schools are great basketball schools or lacrosse schools. So I think it depends upon where you go and what you do. But I think if you're a competitive athlete, that the time commitment's going to go way through the roof. What changes is in youth, for the most part, your season is seasonal, fall, winter, spring. High school, because there's more, if you're not playing more than one sport, then in the off season, you're going to be asked to train. And I just had this, I did a podcast Monday with Jen Levy, the head coach at North Carolina. And the question they asked both of us was, what's the difference jumping from high school to college? And I think it's the same thing from 8th grade to 9th grade is the biggest difference is you have to train more by getting in the weight room, more conditioning, eat well, and sleep. It's not so much practice times. It's the other stuff that you need to pay more attention to and be more tuned into because the numbers are going like a funnel, right? There's all these youth kids trying to play on a very small roster for high school. Well, you have to stand out some way and not always just being the best athlete will work for you. You got to get in the weight room. It's going to be more strenuous. And some of the weight room is to get bigger, stronger, faster, so you play more, but also get in the weight room and train so that you reduce the likelihood of you being injured. I think the time commitment is going to go through the roof, and parents need to be prepared for that. May mean holidays. Spring break is over for the spring sport, right? That depends on your level, right? The spring sport's over. Spring break is over. And that was the problem. When I got to St. Mary's, my first year at St. Mary's, kids are coming up to me the week before our first spring break going, I won't be here for the spring break. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're in season. The oil in my family always goes away. So I learned I had to tell parents in August, here's our calendar for the year.
Yeah.
And spring break, you're here. You practice. This is lacrosse season. You're in. And basketball is going to be the same thing. You're going to practice almost every day, maybe not Christmas Day, but Christmas Day and maybe New Year, you're not going to practice. But every other day during the holiday, during that break, you're practicing. So that's a big adjustment, not so much for the player always, but for mom or dad who like that downtime or vacation time, it's a little different.
Yeah. That's really what it takes to stand out and to be competitive at the high school level then, you're saying.
Correct. When you're in season, you're in season. That's after your schoolwork, that's the next priority.
Right. This is kind of a big question, but is there one thing that you would say to a freshman parent or mom of an athlete?
Let this be driven, this experience be driven by your son. You can do all the drills you want to for your son. You can drive him to all the practices and extra sessions, but if they're going to be great, it's got to be self-driven. That's the way it's going to be. It's up to them. And if they choose not to do it, then they choose not to do it. If they choose to be all in and want you to do all the extra stuff, then choose that. But let this be driven by your child, not by you.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Right. Well, and that goes for a lot of,
Yes.
things.
Piano, anything, right? Academics, anything. It's got to be driven by them. And my advice would be then find some way to motivate them that keeps them doing what you want them to do if it's important to them. But if it's not important to them, let it go. But I think let this be their experience. Let this be their ride, and just be a parent, not their coach or their agent. I'll tell you a quick story how I handled, not that I do everything right, but again, I was a college coach. Both my kids played sports. Both of them played across the sport that I coached. My deal with my wife and I was that I never asked them about practice or a game unless they asked me. So I never, when they were youth kids, I asked, did you have fun? In high school, how'd it go? I never talked to them about their game or their practice without them asking me. And I can remember once my son saying, what did you think about this? And I said, are you sure you want to hear my answer? And he said, no. And about an hour later, he came and goes, okay, I'm ready. What do you think of this? So I think I purposely did not coach him. I did not go in the backyard and work with my kids.
But I'm sure you taught him work ethic, which has made him coachable.
I think being around the sport and around practices, and also it's amazing how much he used to, when I did recruiting phone calls when I was at the Naval Academy, he would often take his blanket and pillow and sleep in the office at home where I made those calls. I think he heard a lot of those conversations and made a huge impact on him academically. The number of times I told a player, I'm sorry, you can't come to Naval Academy because you got a C in math in 9th grade, right? I'm sorry, your absentee rate's too high. Hey, you were tardy to school 27 times. Why? That's 27 times too many in our opinion. Mm-hmm. Those are things I think him being around and my daughter being around it and seeing it really absorbed a lot of that.
Well, so sort of following up on that, sentiment, the work ethic and the expectations beginning freshman year for a student athlete. When do they need to feel like they have to commit to the sports and to the sport and to possibly, a college or a university? And I knew a child that was recruited, and I use the word recruited loosely, but right out of 8th grade. And, obviously they're incredibly talented, but that I was surprised that college coaches were looking at 8th grade players. So, when does all this begin to gel?
That, and a very good thing, that has changed in the NCAA now. That they shouldn't be recruiting 8th graders. Legally, they can't recruit 8th graders anymore. There was a time when I was at St. Mary's, we had a bunch of 9th graders that committed, and no one liked it. Mm-hmm. The coaches didn't like it. I don't think the parents liked it. I don't think the college coaches liked it. I don't think anyone liked that. And now it's the college coaches cannot talk to players until September 1 of their junior year in high school. The military academies can start July 1. Everybody else starts September 1. So that whole process has been delayed, and there's even a movement to right now to maybe delay it some more. So I think the recruiting process has changed. When do you start focusing on one sport? When you want to. Like, I think you're seeing more one sport athletes coming out of high school. Most lacrosse coaches would love to see multi-sport athletes. It doesn't mean you have to. If you don't love the other sport, then don't do it. But I think it's hard to play three just because both one academically and time-wise. But I think if you can, it's all different. I don't think there's a one pat answer here for that, Susie. I think everybody grows and matures at different speeds and different times, whether it's athletically, physically, academically, whatever it is. So the guy who may be a big, strong guy at ninth grade can start thinking about playing college right away, but there may be players that don't become that big and strong until maybe the junior year to start thinking about it. Mm-hmm. I think you should, if it's something you want to do, I think there's a level of sport for almost anyone to play in college now. All the training we talk about is fine, but what's going to open the most doors for you is being a really good student. And the most money is for good students, not good athletes. I think there's 6 times or 7 times as much money available for academic aid than there is for athletic aid. So if you really want help financially and you want to open as many doors as you can, do your homework and do well in school.
So how do you, if your child wants to pursue sports in college, where are some of the best places to showcase their talents? Do you have some advice about that? Travel teams or camps or?
I think all of the above. We counsel our parents that unless you have a lot of disposable income, be careful on how much of these other outside things you do. Now, we're very unique with our club. We're one of the best clubs in the country. If you're playing high school for us, you're going to get a tremendous amount of exposure to college coaches. The tournaments we go to have 100 to 300 college coaches attending. So that's outstanding. But even then, we tell them we recommend 1, maybe 2 prospect camps. And so these prospect camps are different ones. There's showcases, and I'll divide this with the showcases that are run by non-college coaches that they recruit you and say, hey, we think you're one of the best players in the country. Why don't you come to our showcase for 3 days and train and play with us, and college coach will watch you play. And we think there are good ones, and we think there are some not so good ones. And then there's more prospect camps, which are on campus, on a college campus run by college coaches. Mm-hmm. So we recommend our guys choose 1 or 2 of those of schools you're most interested in to go there. 1, you'll live on campus. You'll probably meet a lot of players because the players typically work the camp. The entire staff is working the camp or the showcase. So you get to know them and they get to know you. And mm-hmm. you may form a real strong opinion right away. Hey, I really want to go here. I don't want to go here. We had a guy who wanted to go to a certain school. He did a prospect camp and he came home and said, I don't like the coaches.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, it also gives them the experience of being away and being on a campus. And so, that's good for motivation too, to do better, across the board.
What year would you recommend that then?
I would do 1 after your sophomore year to know how to do them. So you experience one. And the ones with a college coach you'll be watching will be after your junior year or during your junior year. The college coaches really don't watch freshmen and sophomores play anymore. They used to. They don't anymore. So they don't have the time to go watch. They don't have time to go watch the freshmen and sophomores. They're watching the seniors who've already committed to them and maybe looking for a few who have not committed that may be diamonds in the rough. And then they're watching the juniors who have not committed yet and they're trying to get to commit. So to go watch freshmen and sophomores really is rare.
Mm-hmm.
But go to one so that you know what it's like when the college coaches are there. You have the experience, as Susie said, being away, being your own, what the three practices a day look like and how you have to really take care of yourself. So we tell them to do one after the sophomore year, one or two your junior year.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And so one of the other things that I have noticed, somewhat because my background was in video production, I was asked to create a bunch of highlight videos for student athletes over the years. So how important is the game footage and accumulating that? And then also it seems to me like everything's gotten more sophisticated. So now there's like portals, or it's almost like a dating website for
They
for
are.
athletes,
You're 100% right.
right? And you've got to have the picture and the game footage, and this is what else they're doing, and this is their grades. So, there's also other coaches, and there's a lot of extra expenses, I think, that parents could get tied into. What do you think is worth it, and when should a parent even start thinking about it?
It's a good question. Highlight videos are a way in, right? The taking game footage, shorten it up over a summer or a season. And you're right, it's more sophisticated. You have the halo around them now, or a circle, or something else, and the music can be really good, and they're getting much better video. It's not somebody standing atop of bleachers and the players about this big. They got videographers coming and getting close up action shots, and there's a lot more to it. So the college coaches love the video. There are good ones and there are bad ones. 8 to 10 minutes maximum. What I always say to my players is, you want it so when the coach finishes watching it, he wants to watch more. Not he's saying, when's this going to end? Right? Give him enough that it's a little teaser. Don't stand in front of the camera. Hi, my name is Matt Hogan. I go to University of Alaska. I'm a midfielder. No. Action. Go. You can maybe have the contact information scroll over at the end or the beginning is really important. The first one I would do would be after your sophomore year as a teaser to get coaches to start watching you as a junior. I would also get game footage. We're beginning to see that coaches are now asking for game footage because they want to see you make a mistake and how you respond to it, right? The highlight video is all you doing good things. You're having success. Everything you do is successful. Well, the college coach sometimes want to watch game footage and say, okay, what's the competitive level he's playing against? And how does he react when things don't go right for him, when he makes a mistake? How does he respond to that? Susie, kids nowadays are so savvy that they're making their own videos. They're not hiring someone to do it. They're making their own, and they're pretty good. But
I'm very happy they don't need me anymore.
I tell them, if you're not good at it, then find somebody who is, or hire someone to do it, because this is most likely the first impression that you're going to get to make is by sending your highlight video after your sophomore year. So it needs to be good.
What about the portals? Do you think
profiles? Yeah, I think we have had a lot of them come through our club, and I've never found one that was really helpful to us. And in the last year, for lacrosse, the college coaches, the IMLCA, has had their own profile recruiting website for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years. And I have been convinced in the last year that we actually are buying for all of our rising juniors and rising sophomores. We are buying them the profile for the IMLs, the basic profile for the IMLCA, because it's the one that college coaches are visiting. And we encourage them to, one, post a highlight video on it, and two, get your transcript on it. and put those two things on. And to be honest with you, the motivation for putting the transcript on it is one, so the college coach can see, but two is for the players, the younger players to know, we're going to put your transcript up. And I'm hoping that motivates them that I want a good one. If this is going to be posted and every college coach can see it, maybe I need to do my homework so that I have a good transcript later on.
Now, do they do more than just lacrosse, or that's just a lacrosse?
Just lacrosse.
Platform?
It's the Intercollegiate Men's Lacrosse Coach Association that does it. I'm sure the other college coach association haven't, but I would do your homework on which one you do, and I would be careful how much money you spend. So we buy the basic package.
I mean, it does all sound very expensive by the time you're doing these camps and you're doing, if you hire somebody to do your highlight reel. I mean, is there a ballpark amount that you think parents should sort of, save for to, if their child's interested in playing in college, or that are there some affordable alternatives for some of these things?
Yeah, I guess it all depends, again, what level of you want to play in college.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can not play club and do other things and not do all the stuff and probably play at a certain level. The higher level you wish to play, the more you're probably going to spend on some of those things, on playing club, on being trained, joining a gym, and having someone train you, creating a highlight video, and going to prospect camps. I don't know off the top of my head what a dollar value of that is, but I think you got to be careful and make sure what you spend is what you can. And if your son is good enough, he's going to be recruited.
Right. The star athletes, the really high quality athletes, are going to be noticed. That makes a lot of sense.
Are there clubs that give out scholarships to athletes if they can't afford to be in a club in general across the board with different sports?
Yes, they do. And that all depends upon a number of different things. But yes, we do it at our club, and I know other clubs help families with our tuition that we charge.
Mm-hmm. So again, do your homework, right?
Overall, I don't know of a club that doesn't offer some financial assistance to some of their players.
So Matt, helping our mothers of boys who might not be familiar with all the different divisions of college sports, NCAA has Division 1, 2, and 3, and I presume when it comes to the level of competition and the scholarship, that there is somewhat difference between what their expectations are, how much money is available. And I've read that only 77% of high school athletes go on to play in college. So does that sound right to you? And what are the differences in the divisions?
That's a low number. I'm probably not surprised by that. I'm thinking about that. I think that again, that funnel from youth league to high school to college probably gets even tighter than for going to college. There's a huge overhaul going on right now with the NCAA, and a lot's going to come out in the next, hopefully, month or two. They've been saying that for about 6 months. There are significant changes going on with the number of scholarships, roster sizes, transfer, all that kind of stuff. And it could really change the landscape of college athletics. I think it's going to significantly change the landscape of college athletics. But the difference in Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3. Let's talk about scholarships first. If you're playing the sport in high school and doing all these things for a scholarship, I think that's a mistake. If you're playing a sport in college and high school, and you're doing all the things because you love it, because it's really important to you, and you enjoy doing it, keep doing it. Because earning the scholarship is the beginning, not the end. And I think a lot of players focus on earning a scholarship. They get it, and they've reached the carrot, and they don't know what to do, and they flounder and fail in college. Mm-hmm. The ones that are successful in college are those that love playing and enjoy playing, and they keep enjoying that in college. It's all, and there's not many scholarships. Everyone thinks there's all this scholarship money, athletic scholarship money.
So Matt, following up with what you were saying about the changes that are coming in college sports, how does that affect the NIL, the name, image, and likeness? And is that all part of this shakeup?
I don't know all of it. I don't think it changes the name NIL much. What they're talking about doing is increasing the number of scholarships significantly, but reducing roster sizes. And the name, image, and likeness is not going away. The only change there is that the institutions want to provide the money to the student athlete versus these outside co-ops. That years ago, the alumni were not allowed to interact, and sponsors and boosters were not allowed to interact with student athletes. Mm-hmm. Now it's like complete opposite. The boosters and the sponsors and the are running the show and determining who gets how much money above and beyond scholarship. And there's I think there's a school, a Division I football school. I think they have 46 different co-ops raising money and providing NIL money to their football players. Wow. It's a lot. So the challenge is controlling that and knowing what's going on and who gets it and why are they getting it. The institutions want to take that on. The challenge is, I may be getting too deep here. The challenge is that there's a concern that they may then then the athletes may see themselves as employees of the university because they're paying them above and beyond books and tuition and that kind of stuff. And I don't think the institutions want that. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to undig, but I think the NIL is not going away. The transfer portal is not going away. Players' rights are at the forefront of the NCAA right now. So I think to answer your question, Division I, Division II, Division III, I think there's a right place for everybody. That's why there's 3 different divisions, because not everyone wants the same competitive level. 1, maybe athletically, but 2 is mentally, we don't want that much. They don't want as much as the Division II is the unique one. They have all kinds of different rules. They have scholarships, not as many as Division I, but they have all kinds of different rules than Division I and Division III have. Don't think this Division I thing is the end all be all. There's a lot of people who go to Division I are miserable because it's a lot. So choose the right fit for you. And that's what's the most important thing is finding your fit in the place you want to be that works for you.
So Matt, what is the best way then to align expectations of that child? So you said, if your child says, "Oh, my dream is to play Division I sports," what's the best way to align what that commitment is going to look like for them?
If you're going to play Division I, so you're gonna train year round. You're gonna start practice almost as soon as you get there. Maybe they wait a week. If it's a spring sport, you're gonna have practice in the fall, weightlifting in the fall. You're going to have individual sessions in the winter, weightlifting, conditioning in the winter. Then you're going to start going 5-6 days a week. Come January, you're going to watch film. You're going to go in and meet with the coaches. You're probably going to see the trainer at certain times. It's a huge commitment to play Division I sports. And again, I hear kids say it's like a job. It's not like a job to those that love it. It's not. It's not. I don't think my son ever felt it was a job. He was 100% all in to lacrosse 24 hours a day. And he was still a Dean's List student in an Ivy League school, but his priority was lacrosse. And I think he enjoyed it. If just be prepared that if you're going to play Division I, it's going to be a part of your life almost every day, the entire academic year. And then they're going to give you coach is going to hand you at the end of school a training packet that he's expecting you to do all summer long. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you lift. Tuesday, Thursday, you're going to run. We're going to give you Saturday and Sunday off, but we expect you to play in summer league, so get your sticks in your hands. So you're doing something all the time. And part of that is because and you're going to want to if you're competitive, because all the people that you're competing against for playing time are going to be doing it.
What happens if you are recruited and then you get injured?
Almost everyone's going to honor a scholarship if you're injured, either prior to coming in or when you're there. It would be poor display of your commitment as a college coach if you drop someone because they get hurt. It's going to have other players in the future be less reluctant to come to your place. Right. Most scholarships, and this is one of the changes that's going on, that's potential change that may be going on. Scholarships in the past have always been a 1-year agreement. The school is always honored for 4 years, unless you're a real knucklehead, you do something academically, those kinds of things. But typically, those scholarships are honored for 4 years. I think that's going to change.
So, Matt, one of the members of the mob, the mother of boys, has a football player, and she wanted to know, do you think it's worth it to hire a sports consultant? I mean, that sort of gets back into the portal. I mean, there's all these sort of things, who claim that they can get a kid into a college team. Do you think it's marketing?
I think the sports consultant or sports agent is, what I understand, is prevalent in basketball and football. It's not in lacrosse right now. I think you need to evaluate how good you are, how much can your club or your high school coach, how connected, how good are they? And then if they aren't and you don't feel comfortable with that, then maybe it's something you do. Again, I don't know the football and basketball guys. The guys that have done that kind of thing in lacrosse, I would not have my son or daughter sign up for them. I don't see the value in it, and I haven't seen many of them be guys that I would want representing my family.
Right. Well, and I think your point of, if they're going to a school that already is respected in that sport and on people's radar, then it's not as a valid reason to pay extra money for somebody else to.
Right. Now, I think because why the basketball, football is more prevalent is, I think the NIL money is real money at those sports for the really good players. They're paying them a lot of money, and that may be part of the reason why is negotiating those kinds of agreements that they have could be significant dollars, and maybe that's why they're doing it more.
So, Matt, in our first podcast, you talked about being their greatest champion. And so what is the advice for moms and parents as the intensity ramps up in their son's sports? Do you have a motto for that?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a motto. This is the time in high school. I was a dean of students at St. Mary's also, and I used to do a back to school thing, and I probably should find it somewhere, about the degrees of separation. This is the beginning in 9th grade where they begin to separate from mom and dad. Right? I remember being a part of their tailgate, and one of the freshmen got in a car with seniors. And it was a friend of my son. My son was a year behind him. And the mother was about crying because he was getting a car with seniors, which she wasn't really comfortable with, but he didn't need her.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the separation is they get their own license. They need you less. And then they go to college. So there's the degrees of separation right now you're going to be going through. Embrace that, because I know you don't feel that way when your kid's 15, but you're going to want it when they're 30.
Right.
So allow the degrees of separation to slowly morph into themselves. Embrace those things and understand they're happening and enjoy that, so that when they are an adult, they're not reliant on you. They're reliant on themselves. And that's really, really important, I think. And sports are going to bring up more of those degrees of separation from you. They're going to start going out socially more, maybe spending longer days out, maybe sleep if they have got to travel to an away game. Maybe afterwards they sleep over somebody else's house. You're going to see less of them a little bit. So the degrees of separation, embrace those. But more than anything else, enjoy watching them play, because it's coming to a close.
Right.
Independence. Celebrate the independence.
100%. Go. One of the, and again, I'm a little bit straight, but I remember I dropped my daughter off at college. You know, she's very quiet, and we went to meet the coaches with we did a meeting outside somewhere, and we're walking over, and my daughter just left us, just walked in front of us, went over, shook the coach's hand, went over to meet the other girls, other parents. We weren't involved. We were both like, wait, you need us. You gotta want us. And we were very happy. We were very happy and very sad all at the same time. Like, holy crap, she doesn't need us at all.
Well, go you and your wife.
Yeah.
Matt, thanks again for coming back and being with us here today and sharing all this great information about our boys who are in high school sports, interested in college sports. You gave us a lot of great insight, so we really appreciate your time today.
It's ever changing. So what I said today may not be good in 6 months from now, but I enjoyed it. I thank you. I really appreciate you guys having me, and good luck to all those mothers and boys.
To learn more about Matt's programs, visit Annapolis Hawks Lacrosse Club at AnnapolisHawks.com, or for lacrosse tournaments, visit HoganLax.com. And thank you all for joining us today. Follow The Mob on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and your favorite podcast platform. Be kind to yourselves, moms, and have a great week.